Marilyn Manson. My, uh, I went to God just to see, and I was looking at me. Saw heaven and hell were lies. When I'm God, everyone dies. I was a major Marilyn Manson fan during the Antichrist days, his Antichrist Superstar album. Just that last line, minus the everyone dies part. Because even as an impressionable teenager, I listened to these lyrics, not really knowing what they actually meant. Kind of just figured that out while re-editing this rant, but I'll get to that. I personally chose that the when I'm God everyone dies part of the lyric was the part I disagreed with. I listened to the lyrics and chose myself as an impressionable 16-year-old kid to do the moral thing and not follow the everyone dies part. If I had understood that he probably means that when he's God everyone gets to die, no heaven, no hell, no pointless extension of suffering or boredom, maybe he did mean a dramatic death to everyone when he becomes God. Or maybe he was just impersonating the commonly held sentiments in many people on their lowest days. But that line, which has both brilliance and misread embarrassment, connected me to someone else who also didn't believe in heaven or hell. Someone else who understood that it was possible to reject heaven and not be an agent of hell or a devil. Growing up in a heavily Christian town, it was difficult not being associated as a devil worshiper just because I didn't believe in their God. Hey Christians, it doesn't work that way. I went to God just to see, and I was looking at me, saw heaven and hell were lies, made me realize I was not completely alone in rejecting bogus religious dogma. That even a celebrity among all the I thank God or I thank Jesus for all the work I actually did and the people I was lucky enough to know who knew the right people to elevate me to my current status, someone who wasn't afraid to say, we will not be oppressed by the fascism of Christianity. During his intro to The Beautiful People, which he played on the MTV Music Awards, he was a major stepping stone in recovering my self-esteem and becoming the person I am now. I slingshotted from Invisible Geek that was to Manson Freak that became, until I eventually waggled comfortably somewhere in between. Just a dorky hippie freak, outspoken at least online, very shy in person. Activist for human rights against religious dogma and body weight discrimination, which is separate. Immediately I had to buy some Marilyn Manson and Pantera and White Zombie t-shirts. So when we next went to Vancouver, we visited the Rock Shop. A pretty sweet shop. Manson fans from that era know the ones I mean, like, the one with the big blue face, like, there. Like that blue face and with it really huge and the green Marilyn Manson words. Um, and that Sweet Dreams one with him under that shawl thing, it was like, uh, too bad I gave most of those old shirts to one of my exes after I left my Manson phase. But back to the beginning of my Manson phase. I also dyed my hair black, which I was starting to grow longer again. I'd always wanted to have long hair since He-Man, not the best example. I had a mullet until grade 7, and then I decided to cut it because I was being made fun of too much. Then Marilyn Manson came up, and I decided to want to grow my hair long again. So I also started wearing eyeliner and nail polish, and I got some army pants and big boots and all that from a used army supplies shop, and set about my task as a Manson freak, a rebellious teen beginning at grade 12. I'm a late bloomer. I made more true friends that year than I ever had known before, which is what I remember most fondly. This is not to discredit the amazing friends I kind of abandoned to find these newer friends that I felt more connected to. They were really good friends to me during those times, and I really do feel bad about just leaving them that day. I was just walking through the halls and with my original group of friends, sort of other invisible nerds like myself, and I went to follow one of the Manson freaks that I had sort of chatted with at one point, and was like, hey, how's it going? And I started hanging out with him and his crowd just from that day on. Thinking back on it, every time I think back on it, I feel really guilty. I feel really horrible for. I'm not sure that maybe I'm just drama queening it up because they didn't really think of me that importantly. Maybe I don't know. I could be bolstering myself up higher than I think I actually am in their eyes. So I don't know. They never said anything about it. They just sort of accepted it. I don't know. I I just felt more connected to those with whom I could bond over the really good evil music and that anti-religion and anti-religion and being outcasts. That stuff held us together like glue made of iron, if that analogy makes any sense chemically. Anyway, I'm going to do a rundown of the albums that I've listened to, but first I wanted to say that after Antichrist Superstar, Hollywood was really the only album that impressed me, anything later than Superstar. And even it felt repetitive and lifeless at times. The golden age of grotesque brought life back to most of the music, but most of the lyrics are so third grade, embarrassingly so. I can only listen to it on occasion. He just can't seem to bring back the awesomeness that was Portrait of an American Family, Smells Like Children, or Antichrist Superstar. As you might be able to hear some of the music playing. It's from my little mini speaker and MP3 player. If this is against some sort of policy rules, I guess I'll be informed. Anyway, the first album I ever owned was Antichrist Superstar. This will forever be still my favorite Manson album of all time. Each song sounds different from each other. Each song has its own personality. There are a couple songs that do sort of sound like a pair of another one, but they're spaced out in such a way that it's like, oh, this kind of song again, cool. You know, I always thought Irresponsible Hate Anthem sounded similar to the one where he's like, the 1996, that one, where he's like, anti-this and anti-that, anti-this and anti-that. You know, I'm horrible at it. I can't believe I've forgotten any of these lyrics. They were like seared in here. When I start listening to the song, I have it, but I'm sort of getting rusty on the fly. Anyway, it was like a Christmas money gift that I left over for a couple months later because we just hadn't had a chance to go up to Vancouver, where the bigger record stores were. And I had just bought Far Beyond Driven to replace the cassette that I had, because I had it on tape. And I was looking at Antichrist Superstar thinking, I kind of did enjoy Lunchbox when I heard it, and that Sweet Dream song is pretty good. Beautiful People sounds kind of heavy. I really like having that music, because I was already into Pantera and White Zombie. So I was like, but this is really controversial. Should I get this? This is the guy that people say bite the head off a chicken. Or a bat or something, but that was Ozzy. The chicken was also something about puppies dead puppies being passed around the audience. That was like one of those things that never happened, obviously. But, so I bought it anyway, but I hid it from Mom and Dad. I didn't know what they would think. I didn't know what anyone would think. You know, I'm just a little kid. I'm not really Christian, but I was very goody two-shoes. But yeah, so that's when I bought that, and then after that is I was actually dating the girl I'm with right now at the time when I bought the Marilyn Manson album, and I started becoming more anti-religion at the time, more vocal about it, more outspoken about it, and people were rejecting me, I guess. And eventually we broke up. I broke up with her, and she sort of slingshotted into being heavy Christian after that, and she, over the years, just eventually traveled her own way to atheism, pretty much. She understands the concepts of reality, and, you know, it's kind of obvious, but some people are indoctrinated to think that it's not obvious. Anyway, that's not the discussion here. I heard Lunchbox and I bought it, and I was like, I was amazed. I started listening to the music, and it was really creepy. Like, it had a really more satisfying, creepy feel to it, and like an Irresponsible Hate Anthem. I think that it's hard to say if that's my favorite, but it's one of my favorite ones just because it's so poignant. It has says so many right things, like, I don't have enough middle fingers to, stuff like that. I wish I could describe this a little more. Why is my memory so bad? I could look through these things. I should have this as an edited video, really. But, everybody is someone else's nigger. I know you are, and so am I. I wasn't born with enough middle fingers. I don't need to choose a side. That kind of thing. You don't need to choose a side. Everyone is hated by somebody else for some stupid reason that doesn't make sense. I don't need to choose a side in that battle. I can just... That's what I do to religion. Go away, leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. Leave people like me alone, and we'll leave you. We'll stop having a reason to fight back, you know? Get your boot off of our heads, and we'll, you know, stop sticking spikes in it. The next album I got was Antichrist. No, sorry. Smells Like Children. Not really an album. It's an EP, whatever that means. Extended play. Some, you know, remixes and just garbage that they didn't really have for a main album. And it was. I always liked it. It was a really good one. The remixes of some of these songs are pretty brilliant. I think I'm gonna stop this here though. I'll pick it up at, I guess, Smells Like Children when I'm more researched again, because I feel a little dumb right now.